dollar has lost 85% of its value since the 70s when the dollar was no longer backed by gold. With the government printing as much money as they want, inflation went up 9%. Gold and silver are the only assets that will withstand inflation. Invest in Beverly Hills Precious Metals today to protect your wealth. Go to bh-pm.com. Also, you can email us at moms@momsonamission.net and check out our website at momsonamission.net. And please follow us on your favorite platform. All right, everyone, you are going to love our guest today. He founded a ministry called Last Frontier Ministries, which is located just outside of Denali National Park in Alaska. Alaska is actually 3 times the size of the state of Texas, with 231 federally recognized villages within it. Most of those villages are off the road and only accessible by boat, plane, snow machine, or ATV. And that's where this ministry comes in. Most ministries have a hard enough time doing that in a tropical setting, let alone at, and this is really cold, 50 below zero with 24 hours of darkness. So you have to be really an amazing, flexible person to work in Alaska, apparently. So please welcome to Moms on a Mission, Rob Graham and his partner in crime with me, Aaron Antis. Hey, Rob.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thanks for coming. So please tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name's Rob Graham. I'm born and raised here in Alaska, actually in the town that our ministry base is located in, a little town called Healy, just outside of Denali National Park. I've been in missions since the early 2000s. 2004 is whenever we really started getting launched off. And I worked with a mission organization called Teen Mania Ministries that was located in Tyler, Texas, at the time. And we would take short-term missions. We would lead teenagers and young college age students on short-term missions all over the world. We'd go to like 22 different countries, but I concentrated on Central and South America. While I was doing this, it was actually quite interesting because God was working on my heart, going, why am I going to Central and South America whenever we got 231 federally recognized villages right here in Alaska that not many people are going to? So,
well, did you tell God you needed to thaw out first? And that was the reason why? Did you tell him you needed to thaw?
Well, yeah, I needed to thaw. Yeah. The coldest temperature I've ever been in was 79 below. So going to Central or South America, it's a little bit warmer.
Wow.
But yeah, so long story short, I wanted to get into the villages of Alaska. At the time, I had my wife and 2 kids at the time, but it wasn't a safe place to go into with my wife and kids. So I was really praying that God would bring alongside a ministry partner for us. And actually, I was actually heading to Panama to lead a trip in the Darien jungle. And God switched the trip, and the organization called up and said, hey, we overbooked the Costa Rica trip. Would you switch from Panama to go over to Costa Rica and lead? And I really didn't want to, because I've been trying to get to the Darien jungle for many, many years. But God reminded me that, I was working with that organization to serve him, not just to go on adventures for myself. And so I did. And whenever I went to Costa Rica, I met a man by the name of Sam Kimmel. Him and his wife were getting ready to go to the Dominican Republic to do full-time missions down there. And I was explaining to him what my wife and I wanted to accomplish up here as far as missions in Alaska. And within about a week, God impressed on their heart to come and join us up here in Alaska and do missions full-time in Alaska. So in 2008, I went to Pennsylvania, where they lived, and we legally formed Last Frontier Ministries while I was getting my pilot's license. And then they moved up here in July, and we've been going into the villages ever since.
And is your pilot's license, you need to have that to get into these villages?
Yeah, it's so we work in one village that's on the road system. So out of the 231 villages, only a handful of them are accessible by road. And the ones that are like really accessible by road, they don't have as much of a need as the ones off road. So the one village that we go to, it takes us about 5 hours to drive there, 5 or 6 hours to drive there if the road is open. And then if the road's not open, the only way to get there is by plane or by boat.
That I want to know, was this a dream of yours when you were a kid? Did you think you'd be flying over Alaska and doing that? I mean, this is impressive, actually.
Absolutely not. I actually really fought God on it because, being born and raised here, and Alaska is a very dark place physically and spiritually. And so, no, actually, my wife and we actually wanted to move to the Amazon River in Ecuador. And my dream was to be a bush pilot, flying people in and out of the Amazon. And my wife actually went and got her English as a second language to teach in like bush schools in the Amazon. But God would never release me to go there. And even with Teen Mania, all of the trips that Teen Mania had going to the Amazon, I would sign up for it, and at the last minute, they would switch me to a different location. And actually, just this year, I finally made it to the Amazon. So 25 years later, I finally made it to the Amazon. And whenever I was going down the river, God spoke to me, and because I was like, man, why did it take so long to get here? And he actually spoke to me, and he said, if I would have let you go 25 years ago, you would have never have come back, and you wouldn't be doing what I called you to do in Alaska. Wow. So it took a long time, even after after we formed the ministry, for God to give me, a love for Alaska and a love for the people in Alaska. And now there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
Rob,
so.
I know you've told me this story before, but I remember you saying, like, when God really got a hold of your heart and said, Rob, you need to be the one to go, because I can't get anybody else to want to go to a place that gets to 79 below zero. And that is, It's hard ground there. I've been to the villages with you. I've seen it. I've experienced it. And obviously we've been friends for a long time. We went to Bible school at Rhema together. How you met, so. Yeah, we met at Rhema. On the very first day of Rhema, I sat down at orientation, and my wife and I are sitting there, and all of a sudden this guy with that looks like a Viking with this beard, comes and sits next to me.
No horns.
And we've been best buddies ever since, and we just really hit it off. And so anyways, but talk about how hard that was. How you say it's a hard place to minister. I've heard you say this before, that it is one of the hardest places to bring the gospel in the whole world and to do ministry. And then how God talked to you about, the struggle of getting other people to want to go to a place like this. So.
Yeah. So I do ministry all over the world. I'm involved with an organization called Youth with the Mission, or YWAM for short. I've been a school leader over in Kona, Hawaii, which is kind of their main base for the past 5 years. So I've been all over the world. Just this year, I've been to Dubai, Nepal, Cambodia, Thailand, and Brazil. And by far, Alaska is the hardest place that I've ever done ministry. And there's several different factors that kind of lead into this. One of them is the color of my skin. If you look at the American Indians down in the lower 48s, the atrocities that were done to them were done several hundred years ago. The Alaska Natives, the atrocities that were done to them were done within their lifetime. Alaska didn't become a state until 1959. And whenever the government came in its infinite wisdom, they thought it would be really wise to pull all the kids out of their homes and send them to boarding schools. Well, most of the people who were in these boarding schools, or that were running the boarding schools, were white people. And there was a lot of missionaries that were actually kind of associated with it. Well, since 1959, I don't know the exact numbers, but there's been approximately like 60 languages in Alaska that are completely extinct now, that nobody can speak them, because whenever they went to the boarding schools, they forbidded them to speak their language. I have a friend of mine. He was a kid. He was in the bathroom singing one of his Athabascan songs. The dean of the boarding school came in and heard him, along with another staff member. And they told him not, to repeat that he wouldn't speak that trash again. He wouldn't repeat it. So they brought in a 5-gallon bucket of ammonia, and they kept dunking his head in it until he said, I won't speak this trash anymore. Another one of my friends, which he's passed away now, I actually did his funeral. But they did the same thing with him, but they did it with a leather sewing needle. they stuck it through his tongue until he said, "I won't speak this trash again." So they were actually afraid to speak their language. Shortly after boarding school was, and then, school goes from, the middle of August or the end of August until the end of May. And that's whenever the Alaskan natives, that's whenever they hunt, that's whenever they trap. And they, back in the, late 50s, early 60s, they would get furs to trade as equity in the hub town of Fairbanks. Well, they were in school this whole time, so they weren't helping their dads trap. They weren't helping their dads, hunt. And as a result, whenever they would come back, essentially they would say, like you're no good to me. And so I really say that, people within that era, like that Vietnam age bracket in their 70s, I really say that they're a fatherless generation. And then right after boarding school, it was in the late 60s. So Vietnam was going on. And I've yet to meet an Alaskan male who is in that age bracket that was not drafted to Vietnam. I personally believe that the government looked at them as expendable, and they sent them into Vietnam. So you take somebody who's never been to a city really before, and you place them in a boarding school, and then you rip them out and you send them to Vietnam. Like, the people within the United States didn't even know how to give counsel to people who were coming back from Vietnam. Think about the village. And so essentially what would happen is they would turn to drugs and alcohol to numb their pain. And it's been a vicious cycle of abuse ever since. As you were reading, kind of the statistics, Alaska is almost 3 times the size of Texas, which we're very, very proud of. We're the largest state in the union. But what we're not proud of is, we're not proud of the fact that we lead the nation by 3 times in suicides and 3 times with sexual abuse, with drug and alcohol addictions. Those are the statistics that we're not proud of. And the only way that we can combat that is with the light and the love of Jesus Christ. And so, I was really fighting, wanting to go into the villages of Alaska. And I was praying, and God told me, he was like, "Rob, there's a reason why you were born and raised in Alaska, and it was to go into these places. Like, you're already acclimatized to it. You already know, the land, if you will. That's the reason why you were born." And so, he gave me a love for the people and a love for the land, and we've been going strong ever since.
So what you talked about makes me think of one of the questions I wanted to ask you, and that is, tell us, like, what was the reception of your ministry when you first started compared to now? I would think that it would have been a bit dangerous. I'm sure they don't like the white folk. Or did
I'm going to take a really brief moment and explain my experience. Rob flew me into one of the villages, and we get off the plane, and of course we have to walk from the airstrip into the village. And as soon as we start walking, we see these people start walking up to us, and they're carrying guns and like making it very apparent that they have a gun. And they're looking at me like they want to kill me. I mean, they were looking at us very harshly and being, it was intimidating. They were intimidating us is what they were trying to do, because they saw the color of our skin.
Sounds like it was working.
Yeah. And I was very intimidated. And of course, Rob had been there many times before. And so they're like, "What are you doing here? You don't belong here." That's what they started with. Those were the first words out of their mouth. And then Rob goes, "Oh, well, I'm Rob Graham, and I'm here to see, the chief," which is, a certain person. I won't name him, and as soon as Rob told them who he was and who he was there to meet, it was like he was their long lost brother. Like, their demeanor instantaneously changed in this situation because they realized who he was. And this was after many years of him having gone into the villages, which Rob, you might tell the story about how they said, they kind of ignore you for the first couple of years or whatever that you've told me about.
Yeah. So essentially, when we first started going up there, we would go up to this certain village, and we'd go in every other week for about 3 or 4 days, depending on how much we could take. And for the first 3 years, almost nobody talked to us. There was a few believers in there that would talk to us. But as a whole, everybody kept us at arm's distance. In fact, the first time that I went into this certain village, I actually got a gun pulled on me. And I should back up. They would speak to us, but it would be more like, get the F out of my village,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so they would talk to us, but what happened is they, with the native people up here, they need to be able to trust you. And so for 3 years, we kept going in there and like nobody would talk to us. We'd knock on doors. They would, shut their curtains, all this stuff. And it was just like, we were going, man, are we even supposed to be here? Like we would even pull out scriptures like, if the village doesn't accept you, shake the dust off your feet and go on. It's like, then we would go, well, where are we going to go? Like,
Right.
So anyways, long story short, we were in the church because we slept on the floor of the church. We didn't have a place to stay. So we slept on the floor of the church. And one day we were in there and, I was like, God, like you have to make a way because like, we're not making any ground here. And he told, so I'm in the fire department. I ride on the back of the ambulance as a medic, and I'm also a trainer who trains medics. And God gave me an idea of teaching what they call an emergency trauma technician class, because most of the people in the village, the younger people, are forestry firefighters. So if they get the certification as an emergency trauma technician, they actually are more hireable, and they also get more money whenever they're on a fire because of their skills. So he told me to teach it. He told me to teach it for free, and he told me to teach it in the church. And I was like, why in the church? And he was like, because they don't come because they're uncomfortable with the church. And if you have them in there for 40 hours, they're going to start getting comfortable with the church. So we brought them in. There was 13 of them that came. Some of them were 13 of the more people who gave us opposition. But then we had them there for 40 hours. And it was awesome because we changed our teaching. And we were teaching medicine, but we were also evangelizing while we were teaching medicine. For instance, we'd start talking about the anatomy of the body and how God fearfully and wonderfully made you. And you were knitted together. God knew you before you were even knitted together in your mother's womb. And we just kept going through the entire class, putting scripture in there and everything else. And after that class, those 13 people became 13 of our best friends up there. And they realized that we weren't there to harm them. We were there to help them. And now to this day, the village that we go into is my second home. I have a 16-year-old son and twin 12-year-old boys. And almost every time that I go in there, they go with me. We go for a week at a time every month. And it's my home away from home. And there's not a person in the village that we're not friends with. So we've been going into this village for 14 years.
Mm-hmm. I remember when you told me that the chief basically said, I pretty much ignored you because other missionaries have come and gone. But he said, when you kept coming in the wintertime, that I realized after a decade of that, you weren't going to give up. And it's like,
yeah,
wow, there's somebody out there who's probably watching this going, well, I probably wouldn't have kept going after a decade of, 50 below zero in 24 hours of darkness kind of thing.
Well,
like I'm
sleeping in a church and
sleeping on the floor
the
in church,
being drawn and nobody responding. I mean, that speaks to your perseverance. And I mean,
Definitely.
I can't even imagine what that requires. But I couldn't help but notice that I think some schools, even Christian schools, might have a hard time utilizing a biblical immersion program or biblical integration. But it's so impressive to me how easily that came to you to instill a biblical worldview in them as they're learning these skills to help rescue people. I mean, that's super impressive that you're able to do that.
Yeah, it was definitely a God thought. I always say I know I'm hearing God whenever I have a thought that's smarter than what I can come up with on my own.
Well, I think that's absolutely brilliant. And I wanted to ask you, what is the mission of your ministry, and what is also the goal of your ministry?
Yeah, so our ministry has 3 different legs to it. Where our campus is located at, we firmly believe that anytime there is a ministry set up, whether it's a mission organization or whatever, they need to have a local impact and not be a suck to the community, but be adding things to the community. And so we have a local outreach. We have a pavilion with a coffee shop. The town right outside of Denali National Park is where they house all the employees that come up and work the tourist industry in the summertime. So So our base is located about a mile from where they're at. They come down to this creek bed almost every night and have a bonfire. They smoke dope, drink beer all night long. So we built a coffee shop and a pavilion to where we can minister to these people while they're coming down. Plus the locals come as well.
And they do an open mic night, which is really cool because people who are part of the praise and worship team at the church that Rob's parents pastor there in Denali area, they come and they'll play praise and worship songs in the middle of the open mic night. So these other people are coming and they're all high and drunk and whatever, and they're doing praise and worship. It's pretty awesome.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
So the second leg of our ministry is it's our School of Missions, which we're opening April 2024. We're teaming up with YWAM, Youth with a Mission, and we're going to be running what they call a discipleship training school. So it's a 5-month school. The first 3 months is lecture phase. So we teach 12 different subjects on God and his character. So we go from hearing the voice of God all the way to evangelism and spiritual warfare. And then they go out on the mission field for 2 months and they put into practice what they've just learned. So that's the second leg of our ministry. And then the third leg of our ministry is the village ministry itself. So there are 3 distinct legs of the ministry, but what our goal and our hope is that every one of them will build on the other, so that people who come and have an encounter with God at the coffee shop and pavilion will end up going to our school, which will end up producing long-term missionaries for Alaska.
It's really wild too, where this there's all the tourist industry is right there. And like you said, they're like a mile away and they'll walk down to go party down there. But it's like you literally have people from all over the world. Almost everybody who comes there to work at Denali National Park is from all these countries all over the world. They literally have a worldwide ministry there in this little creek bed where this coffee shop is. It's the coolest thing in the whole world. When Rob told me he was going to do that, I was like, what are you doing? And I couldn't get the vision of it. And then after I started realizing, I was like, oh my God, there's goes a guy from Serbia, somebody from Thailand, somebody from Japan. It's like
you see that in a lot of national parks. We've been to a couple this summer, and that is so true. They're from all over the world. What I love is the fact that you're, catching these people, right, and getting them saved and then throwing them into a discipleship and then releasing them to go be missionaries. I mean, it is really full circle. I mean, you're covering all of your bases, which I think is neat, because sometimes, there isn't the discipleship and they're just focused on getting people saved. And then, you just never know what happens with their relationship with the Lord. But man, seizing the opportunity, discipling them right away, and then sending them out to go make disciples of men and be missionaries is just great. I love how it's just a full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our ultimate goal is that the majority of our school will actually be Alaska young men and women who will be coming to, like Alaska natives, coming to the school. And actually, one of the things that God put on my heart here, a while back, is that ultimately our long-term goal is that Alaska natives will actually be running this ministry, where we can build it up and actually turn it over to where it's Alaska natives reaching Alaska natives, because that's by far going to be the most effective way for them to be able to go into a village. They've already overcome so many things that that we have to overcome because it's their own people group. So I like Last Frontier Ministries. We specifically work with the Athabascan people. So people have a kind of a misconception, especially in the lower 48, that all Alaska natives are Eskimos, and that's not true. In the interior of Alaska, they're Athabascans, and they're a wonderful and beautiful people.
And I love that how you say lower 48. You just, when you go to Hawaii too, you hear the mainland, you just hear all these terminology. So I think that's kind of cool. But
we usually say America.
Oh, America. I did hear that in Hawaii. They'll be like, what about when you get back to the United States? And you're like, actually, you're in the United States.
It is kind of interesting up there. It's like the language is the same, and you're in the same country because the dollar is still there. But other than that, it feels like a different country. It really does.
Wow. I just think I've been there once and it is absolutely beautiful. And then when Aaron goes and he torments us and tortures us with all the beautiful pictures of Alaska, and I guess Denali National Park is where some of them are.
Oh yeah. That's right out Rob's back door. You look out the windows of Rob's house, you're looking at Denali National Park. So
that's so cool. Yeah. I mean, how beautiful. Minus the sub 50 weather, but I'm just saying that's something you have to adjust to, I would think.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've got some pictures. I've got some pictures of Rob and Sam when they were up in one of the villages, and it's like January, and they're there, and they were out walking, going from house to house, like ministering to people, and literally both of their beards are completely encased in ice. And they're literally just look like ice beards because they're out at 50 below, like going house to house. It's pretty cool.
I'm thinking there's a special crown for you guys in heaven because that is way out there. I'm super impressed by that. I can't say that.
Yeah, we're part of the frozen chosen.
Oh, I like that. The frozen chosen. That's so good. Well, how can people get involved with Last Frontier Ministries?
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching this, you want to get involved. The biggest thing that we need is prayer. Like without prayer support, without people coming beside us, praying, we're not going to be able to get done anything, in our own strength. So we definitely need prayer. We always need volunteers. So like right now, we're building our campus, and we teamed up with a mission organization called Flashpoint Missions out of Pennsylvania. It's actually young Amish men and women that come up and do it. And then obviously financial support is a big thing. We definitely we step out in faith and we do everything by faith. So all of the building projects that we have, we don't have the money for it, but God tells us to do it. And we've lived by the motto, if it's God's will, it's his bill. And so we step out in faith and we order the supplies and God miraculously brings in the money. Right now, we have a spray foam company coming down to insulate the basement of our dormitory, and it's $12,000, and we don't have it right now, but we told them to come and spray it. So we know that God's going to bring it in, those are the main ways that people can get involved with Last Frontier Ministries.
By the way, they are a debt-free ministry. They're 100% debt-free, which is amazing. When you see what they've built up there, it's amazing.
That's so cool. So
we won't
go ahead.
We won't go into debt for anything God's calling us to do. And kind of the way that my wife and I have kind of stepped out in faith is like with the spray foam company. Like we'll put it on our credit card, and we have this kind of mentality of is if we missed God on this, or if we missed his timing, then her and I will pay for it ourselves. But God always comes through.
That's so amazing. So if they want to financially contribute to this and support Last Frontier Ministries, they just go to your website at lastfrontierministries.com, and there's a way that they can financially contribute and support you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome.
And also, Rob, tell us about the little drawing that you're doing and how people can text you to get entered into the drawing right now. Tell them about that.
Yeah. So what we're doing to get kind of awareness out is we're actually going to be raffling off a free trip to Alaska. You'll be able to come up here to see Denali National Park, and if you text my number 907-388-8403, you can get entered in to win that. And yeah, that's one of the ways that we want to get awareness out there.
Give us that phone number one more time. Somebody was driving in their car and they have an Etch-a-Sketch next to them. They're trying to like Etch-a-Sketch it out. They got to pull up on the side of the road.
907-388-8403.
So they just need to text you Alaska and you'll enter them in for that drawing, right?
Yes, sir.
And so they get a free trip. Do they get to meet you and see the ministry as well?
Oh, they'll get to meet us and see the ministry for sure.
Hopefully they come in the summertime.
Oh, it would definitely be in the summertime.
It's a free trip in the winter.
Drawing for a wintertime trip.
Oh, special drawing. That's for Aaron.
Only I get to go do that, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, lastfrontierministries.com. Please go there, check it out, and donate if you can to support their ministry. This is amazing. And, if you can't go, then give. That's really how it works. I believe that God has called us all to be disciples of men. And sometimes it's just not possible. You're changing diapers. Your life is not, the season is not, available for you to go, but we can all contribute and pray first. And then we can all do something financially to support Last Frontier Ministries.com. And also Rob's number one more time is 907-388-8403. Text to enter a free trip to Alaska. I did joke and tell them that I love Alaska. It's absolutely beautiful. I'd love to go back again. So
Miriam's like, I just texted Rob 18 times in a row.
I did. I'm like, is this like a drawing where the more I text you, the higher the chances that I can? So yeah, it just sounds absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for saying yes to God. Thank you for ministering to the Alaskans. I learned so much today, and I'm sure our audience did too. I just didn't even know some of the stories you shared are horrific, and it definitely helps us pray for you and for them more specifically. So thank you for sharing that today, and thanks for joining us. And we would love to hear from you, audience. Just go to our website at momsonamission.net. That's momsonamission.net, and check it out. And then email us at moms@momsonamission.net. That's moms@momsonamission.net. And we would love for you to please follow us on your favorite platform. Thanks for listening. In light of recent bank volatility and skyrocketing inflation, diversification is a must. That's why I use my good friend Andrew Sorcini at Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Beverly Hills Precious Metals makes it so easy to diversify. I personally ordered some silver and it arrived on my doorstep just a few days later. They make it so easy. And if you're not ready to do that and you just want to ask a few questions, they're there for you too. I personally got some silver and also am rolling over some of my IRA. You can actually roll over your IRA and have it be backed by silver and gold. So if you don't have any extra money to invest in silver and gold, rolling over a 401k or an IRA, or even part of it, if you just want to try it at first, just for a little bit, you can do that as well. So go to bh-pm.com today and ask all your questions. You can connect with somebody. And like I said, you can just get some information at first if you want and pray about it, and then get back with them to roll over part of your IRA or all of it, or order some gold and silver. That's bh-pm.com. and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. Hey, everybody. Did you know that recent research from the CDC says that millions of Americans develop parasitic infections and symptoms often go unnoticed or are misdiagnosed? Parasites are actually the cause of many health problems such as anxiety, depression, chronic pain, fatigue, and unexplained digestive issues. We all need a common sense strategy to improve our health. Moms on a Mission encourages you to reach out to our good friend, Dr. Jason Dean. Dr. Dean's Full Moon Protocol provides all natural detoxification and fights inflammation. And the supplements are made with 100% organic ingredients and are proven to kill parasites safely and effectively. I know after I took Full Moon Protocol, I had more energy. To order your Full Moon Protocol today, go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. According to leading sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle getting a good night's rest. That's why Moms on a Mission loves MyPillow. MyPillow makes amazing pillows, sheets, mattress toppers, robes, towels, literally almost everything you need for a good night's sleep. They also make dog beds for your dogs. So by going to mypillow.com, typing in the code MISSION, you not only receive a high quality product, but you're supporting Moms on a Mission and this podcast. If you like what you're hearing and you agree with it, you believe in it, and you want to support Moms on a Mission, then go to mypillow.com today and order some high quality products, and just type in the code MISSION at checkout and you can save up to 66% off. That's mypillow.com, code MISSION.
Since 2014, Organic Body Essentials has offered clean, simple, certified organic skincare. Our organic face-to-feet and federally compliant hemp and pet products are manufactured under USDA and FDA guidelines. Our products are inspired by God using plants He created. In Ezekiel 47:12, it says, "The fruit is for food and the leaves for healing." We believe in the power of God to heal, so we pray over our products and for our customers. Our therapy in a bottle approach has been widely received, and our customers' testimonials continue to inspire us. You can find us at organicbodyessentials.com and obe.organicbodyessentials.com. Please feel welcome to reach out with questions. Use coupon code MISSION at checkout for a discount. Thank you for your support by using Mission at checkout to benefit moms on a mission and their quest to reestablish traditional values in our education system and empowerment for a healthy lifestyle.